it's Cary Miller.
All right, Cary Miller, 6'1", 246. He's fighting out of Jim O. We got a lot of guys that came up from the Carolinas tonight, out of Clover, South Carolina, with a record of 2-0. It's the heavyweight division. We talk about the big boys laying on each other, but I love it when we had these guys fighting in here.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, man. It's not too often you see a D1 heavyweight wrestler transition into MMA, and when they do, there's usually a very big hype train behind them. Cary Miller's 2-0, the number 6 rated heavyweight in South Carolina, but let's talk about his wrestling career. He wrestled 5 seasons at Appalachian State University, where in 2020 he had a record of 32-5 and ended up as a 2-time national qualifier. And for those that don't know wrestling, those are the NCAA championships, which occur the same weekend, obviously, as the basketball NCAA championships.
Correct.
And it's one of the hardest tournaments in grappling. And I'll tell you what, man, to have any success to even get there speaks volumes. The other thing, 5 years at Appalachian State, 4 of which he's actively competing as a starter, tells you something about his level. He probably redshirted his first year, which is when you have a guy ahead of you going and paving the road, finishing up his career. So you get to get that experience from him, work with him, and then you take over the reins. And, I mean, he looks like he's in tremendous shape.
And let me tell you what kind of shape he's in. This is his 3rd fight in 2022. 2022, what are we, 8 months in?
And that's how you do it, though, right? When you make that transition, you commit to it. And, you know, those guys over at Jim O know how to get guys ready for fighting, you know, and I don't doubt this is going to be any different.
All right, Chris Fuller, take it away.
And his opponent, making his way to the cage and fighting out of the blue corner, it's Matthew Crawford.
All right, here we go. One of our favorite guys coming down through here. Listen, we talked about him in the pre-fight show. Matthew Big Smile Crawford. He's 6'2", 264. He's got about an inch on Miller, but we have seen him. He's fighting out of Kaizen MMA. His record of 3-0. He's ranked number 2 as a heavyweight in the entire state of Virginia as an amateur. Matt Cary's 100% finish rate. We've never seen him get out of the first round. He finishes quickly.
Yeah, and you know, even when I've seen him get caught, he does a really good job of transitioning and getting himself out of trouble. And this is going to be an interesting fight for him, because I suspect he's going to have a hard time getting the takedown on Cary Miller. And he's going to have to deal with a guy who's constantly coming forward because he wants that takedown. With that said, Matt has got such good hands and such good movement that I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to land shots and angle off and put himself in a constant position for success. I also know those guys over there at Kaizen know how to get their boys ready, and it's going to be, I think, just as much of a challenge for Cary Miller to deal with a guy like Big Smiley, who moves so well and is so fluid for a big guy, as the challenge for Matt Crawford is going to be dealing with such a high-level wrestler.
And Crawford throws you off, right? Because here we are in a heavyweight division, and you see a guy like Miller come in who looks like a fighter.
Yeah.
Who looks like a fighter. Crawford looks like you found him eating at the bar, having appetizers and waiting for his meatloaf to show up in 6 beers.
Well, I'm going to let you... That was Kevin Schaefer who said that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, not Charles DeGiusto.
But look, I love Matt. Matt's my guy. He's always smiling. But what I'm saying is
I get it.
He is sneaky good.
And
sneaky good.
Looks can be deceiving, too.
Correct.
You know, there are guys who, they might not look like they're in good shape, but they could run for miles. Cain Velasquez never really looked that crazy. Like, he was not ripped, but his cardio was unbelievable. And I believe Matt has that same gene.
So do I. All right, let's throw it down to Chris Fuller. We'll get the official introductions. Chris, take it away.
Salisbury Center, this is the main event of the evening. This bout is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds, and it is for the vacant CageZilla Heavyweight Championship. Starting out, fighting out of the red corner, standing 6'1" and weighing in at 246 pounds, fighting out of Jim O, South Carolina, with a record of 2 wins and no defeats. He is the number 6 ranked heavyweight in South Carolina. It's Cary Miller!
Cary Miller, ranked number 6 in South Carolina as a heavyweight, fighting out of Clover, South Carolina.
And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, standing 6'2" and weighing in at 264 pounds, fighting out of Kaizen MMA with a record of 3 wins and no defeats. He is the number 2 ranked heavyweight in the state of Virginia. It's Matthew Big Smile Crawford.
Smiling the whole time. It's Big Smile Crawford, 3-0 record. He's ranked number 2 in Virginia.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the co-main event. It is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds, and it is for the vacant CageZilla heavyweight title. Your referee is Victor Matamala.
Victor Matamala will be the referee for this event. It's scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Now, this is 15 minutes of fighting at guys that are 265 plus. Right? So this is definitely a marathon, not a sprint, but we've never seen Crawford out of the first round. So as this gets going now, this is some of the things that I worry about with these big boys when they're this athletic and they can start pushing each other around. Is our cage going to hold up?
Yeah, this is going to be a challenge.
All right, touching gloves right here on top of the CageZilla logo. Cary Miller, he'll be in the multicolored red trunks. He has black gloves. He'll have that red tape. Smiley, he's got black trunks with those black gloves with that blue tape. Oh, a good left hand from Smiley. Right to the side of the face of Miller, but never checked up.
You know, one of the things I was looking at Smiley was his striking is obviously very... Wow.
Did that just happen?
Right there for the lift. You know, one of the things that was making me a little bit nervous with Matt, as he was landing good strikes, his footwork was getting slightly cross-legged, which when you have a guy like Miller who's going to blast through you, that could be a problem. With that said, I think Miller did a good job of adjusting and moving, creating some head movement, which kind of prevented Matt from just unloading. And now Matt has to deal with a very big heavyweight inside control here.
Yeah. Now the first kick from Miller to the thigh of Matt had left a mark on the thigh, but now we're in a situation where Miller feels, I'm sure, very comfortable.
Yeah, this is a good spot for Miller. He's always going to be solid here. I'm sure this is a position he's worked quite a bit. You could see he's naturally throwing pretty good elbows here, but Crawford's in his corner. He's getting good advice. He's got good hand positioning here. So what he needs to do with that left arm is he needs to lift up, almost like he's doing a Turkish get-up, and belly down and drive into Cary to try to work his way up. Although now Cary's now made an adjustment and settled a little bit further into side control here. And this is what that cheese grater position we were talking about, Kevin, where you see Crawford's head and neck are up on the cage. And, now he's got to be careful. Cary was going for a Kimura right there. And it's preventing him from being able to shrimp the way he needs to.
Good right hands. Matthew Smiley did not like that.
And Smiley's going to try to roll up here using the cage to walk. And that created some space, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, Miller keeping the pressure on for Crawford.
Good knee there from Miller. He was thinking about going in a mount, then instead just threw a knee and regained that position.
Let's see if Crawford can try to figure his way out of this, because I don't think we've ever seen Smiley in this position before.
This is a challenge. It's a big, strong, athletic guy, and there's not many of them. You know, that's the other thing. There's not too many guys who could create that type of down pressure to prepare for, and he's got to be careful here. He went belly down. Miller got one leg, and now he's in mount. Crawford exposed his back, came back in, and you could see Miller has his feet grapevined here, which is making it a little bit difficult for Miller to do anything. And now the ground and pound comes.
Right to the side of the head. Miller just laying these rights and lefts to the side of the face of Crawford. Now the elbows are starting to rain down from Miller being on top. Crawford he's just going to, seriously, he's going to get tired trying to get off of this guy off of him.
Yeah, and you know, and when you're on the bottom like that, and look at the way Miller was able to just kind of turn him around. At one point, Crawford looked like he was going to be able to push off. When Miller went to explode in and land a strike, he would push off the cage and disrupt that rhythm, but then immediately Miller just started shifting his hips and straightened him out that way. Now it looks like that is under.
Yeah, has he got it sunk in there?
Crawford did good defense.
Good job by Crawford.
And you can hear Sam Kilmer over there giving good advice on making the adjustments, but he's got to be careful. These are big shots.
Just the elbow and the right hand from Miller.
And now Miller's really putting it on him.
He just letting him go, but I'm going to tell you.
Big elbow there.
Crawford trying to do his best. Crawford doing a good job.
He's got 90 seconds left here. He spent a lot of time on his back. And now, ironically, Miller's having a little bit of a hard time landing the strike because as he postures up, he's creating too much disparity between getting on the inside. Now Miller's looking he went to try to isolate an arm. Crawford went back to his back, and then here comes more ground and pound. Big elbow there. A couple big elbows.
Miller another good elbow by Miller. Let's see if he can make it another 45 seconds here. Crawford tried to get off of this position, but I'm going to tell you, Miller has put his entire weight on him. the whole first round. Oh, don't get caught here,
Crawford's
Crawford.
got to be careful here.
Yeah, don't get caught.
You could also see his legs are straight back. He needs to start moving in here, but he's taking a lot of damage. He's got to bring his knees in. He keeps moving, which is good. He's not really letting Victor see enough strikes to stop the fight, but he's just, like right there, he's flat on his back. He's got to get his feet under him and start to buck like crazy, constantly move his hips.
Oh, that 250 pounds on him and trying to make that happen.
Well, this is going to be interesting now because obviously Crawford is going to be tired. However, we also know that Cary Miller is going to be tired as well. He's the first to get up, but they're starting on the feet. You know, there might be an adrenaline dump. There's a lot of different factors that are going to come in here. So it's going to be interesting to see if Crawford makes an adjustment and starts letting the hands go, which can maybe he can get a force takedown from Cary, which will allow him more opportunity to defend.
Yeah, as I'm watching Cary Miller here in his corner, his seconds are telling him, look, you got to push away, but he's not breathing as hard as I look over and see Matt.
Well, the one thing I'll tell you about such high-level wrestling is that they're used to pushing it for basically 7 minutes straight. They have a 3-minute round where they start on the feet. With no breaks, then they transition to top-bottom. Right. And then with no breaks after that, 2 minutes later, they transition to top-bottom. Whoever was on bottom goes top. So it's really like 7 minutes straight with about 3 seconds to catch your breath, you know, against another guy equally sized. And there's also penalties if you're not moving forward. And I think that's why wrestling is such a good base for MMA, because you get good at fighting tired. But look, Crawford, I got to give him a lot of credit. He was on his back in a bad position for basically 4.5 minutes. So now's his opportunity to get back here.
Yeah, try to stay on his feet, try to maybe throw some blows. But look, Cary's going to shoot in here and try to get him right back down to it.
He committed that guillotine, but now it's a different situation here. Now Crawford's got his back against the cage in the corner of Cary Miller.
This is where the crowd gets a little bit restless, and this is where we talk about the heavyweights. You know, we talk about it's more exciting with the 155s, with those featherweights, and we start talking about the cruiserweights and they're staying on their feet and pushing this. The heavyweights start laying on the ground, the crowd gets a little bit restless.
No, they do, but I'll tell you, I mean,
this is legit fighting here in MMA. Like, they are still working.
They're working really hard, and I gotta think Victor might be a little bit quicker now to stop the fight if he sees some repeated shots, just because we got, like, you know, the takedown happened 20 seconds into the round.
Yep.
Now you got 4.5 minutes to go.
Of just getting pounded on.
And it's just, you know, at the amateur level, you don't need to take that kind of damage.
Ooh, those knees are really getting into the midsection of Crawford. Big Smile Crawford is on the bottom. He has those black and white trunks on with the black gloves, blue tape. Miller totally in control here on top from South Carolina. Miller in total control of this one again.
Yeah, and you're just seeing that solid side control there for Miller. And if you're Miller, you know, I know you like the knees, but I think you want to just try to advance position here. And like right there is good. Good opportunity. Take the back. Now that's Matt's opportunity. He's got to stand up, but it's just a little too much weight. It's a little too much weight. And in this game, when you get to the higher levels, the opportunities become smaller and smaller as we get some big elbows here. And I think, look, if you're Victor Matamala, I think you got to think about stopping it here.
He's still fighting, still trying to keep himself protected. Let's see if Victor lets it go. Miller just a big body on him and such in good shape, just trying to keep that weight and that pressure on the face of Matthew Crawford. Look, and when Miller gets tired, he stops. And then when he's ready to go, he goes again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting to watch here, and I don't mean to be quiet while we're commentating, right? Our job is to speak, but you're just seeing somebody who's making small micro adjustments to stay on top and deliver relentless ground and pound for, I mean, we're at the end of this round, if we get there, it'll have been about 9 minutes of consistent ground and pound.
And talk about exhausting. Just have somebody lay on you for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's just... Cary just doesn't stop, and nor should he, right? Like, this is how you win the fight. It's just, I'll also tell you, it's just a little bit not enough for the fight to end. Excuse me. But just enough to make it miserable for Matt.
Miller still in total control here as he just tries to throw lefts and rights and just put those haymakers down on top of him. But look, how does Crawford get out of this right now?
So right now what he's got to do is he's got to start taking chances. So bump right there, but you don't stop. You just kind of keep shifting your hips because you don't want to let the guy get settled. And you want to make him work to keep you in a position, right? Right now he's not really working. He's just secured the position, and then occasionally Matt will make a move and an attempt, and then Cary will defend it, and that will be that. You're not going to get through with one hip bump or one sweep. You have to start repeatedly doing all of these different things to start to create openings where maybe you can now get a knee in, and you can go butterfly, and you can elevate.
Sure.
Or maybe you could shrimp, and you could go into half guard, and then now all of a sudden at least you have some opportunities there.
But super exhausted, though.
Oh, I mean, look, I'm telling you solutions, but there's a lot more problems than there are solutions, right? The cardio, and I shouldn't even say cardio in the sense of like preparedness. It's just right now you're dying.
Yeah.
You know, your heart's beating out of your chest. You're tired. You have somebody who's just a couple steps ahead of you who's setting the pace, which is only going to make you more tired without them being equally as exerted.
Trying to get those arms pushed up. Crawford's got his arm put up there, and then the pressure being put on by Miller with about 30 seconds left to go in round number 2, and this is going to be 9 minutes of pressure on Crawford like you were talking about. Miller's getting tired, you can tell, because Crawford's trying to pull him in and do everything he can, but the blows have stopped, and I'm shocked that Victor hasn't tried to stand him up.
Well, when somebody's in full mount like that with a grapevine, it's such a dominant position. You know, the onus is really on Matt to make a move here. If Miller decides not to throw a punch, that's to Crawford's benefit and his own detriment, right? But he's the one dictating everything that's occurring. You know what I mean? He's definitely tired.
Yeah, they're both really tired right now. I mean, and Miller worked really hard that round. And then you saw at about the 2-minute mark to go, the blows stopped coming, right? The blows stopped coming, and he just started laying, putting pressure on him.
Yeah, and you know, if you're Matt Crawford here, it's like, all right, look, you're going to go out there and you got to change the game. You got to put everything you have behind these shots. And I think Victor just gave him a warning, and he said, look, I'm going to stop this fight if you end up in that position. I'm not going to let you take another full round of damage, because that's been basically 10 minutes of being on your back, being in a tough spot, and not really being able to make the adjustments you need to.
Now, there was a little tiff outside in the fighter staging area between fights here, and our very own, I know you would find this shocking, Connor Mosby was involved. It seemed like a fan, I guess, threw a water bottle at him and told him, or excuse me, a fan said something to him. Connor threw a water bottle, fan threw a drink, and so they both went outside, which doesn't normally happen here. We haven't had anything like that before.
Well, I'll tell you, I think there's other people to pick a problem with than Connor Mosby, but that's your journey, you know?
Yeah. All right, here we go. Start of round number 3. Let's see what Miller tries to do here. We try to take him down. Of course, Matt wants to stay on his feet and try to win this thing by throwing strikes. Both fighters extremely tired. Miller back in control, but not on the ground.
Better defense there now. Now, Crawford kind of drove his way in with the strikes, although good adjustment there from Miller. He was in on the single. Crawford defended it, and then he changed levels, got in on the double, and just pulled him right in.
Back to it again.
Yeah, inside control, in Miller's corner, and it's just going to come down to how much damage does Victor Malamala decide Crawford's going to take here.
Well, those knees to the midsection, you can see the grunt on Matt's face when he takes those shots to the midsection there. Those ribs got to be hurting after those knees.
It's tough. And, you know, one of the things that I saw from Matt was he kind of drove in, threw some strikes, and then entered into the clinch. And even though he stopped the first takedown attempt, there's just going to be so many with these high-level wrestlers, right? They're going to keep chaining them together.
Now we're working on 10 minutes of Crawford being on his back here, and this is a rough time for him.
Yeah, it absolutely
and he
is.
spun around here. Let's see if he can get his back here. Miller's got a better shot at this. Oh, spun back around.
And, you know, good defense on the choke from Crawford, but it just kind of puts him right back in a bad position. And, you know, once these punches start coming in, I think Victor's basically saying, like, you could see he's right there. He's looking real close, and it's just a matter of Miller just putting strikes together, and that's it. And you can see right now he's kind of acknowledging what's going on. But to Miller's credit, I mean, he's tired too. It's not as easy as just like you're not spamming the RB button, right? Like it takes a lot to get those last couple strikes out.
I think you're right. If Miller just ties it, sucks it up for 10 seconds and starts throwing some haymakers here, Victor will stop this thing.
But I think that his coach knows that. Those guys over at Big L are just, they're so capable. You know, they know exactly what they're doing, and he's probably saying that to him. It's just, you know, it's tough. You don't want to. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Can Miller, I mean, this is where Miller's going to be his strongest, all the wrestling.
Boy, Crawford almost snuck out the back door right there.
He almost did, but he had to just keep on moving, right? You can't stop.
Yeah, why'd he stop? Keep trucking.
He's going to go for this Kimura. Although Miller, I think, just kind of drove right through that, back into side control. And now I think his coach is saying, like, hey, you got to put it on right here. Start putting on, you know, start letting those hands go.
Crawford still taking those knees to the midsection, and they are just wearing Crawford down. Between being exhausted and taking the knees to the midsection, Crawford doesn't want to have anything to do with that anymore.
Another big knee.
Both fighters just totally exhausted after almost 13 minutes of fighting.
2 minutes left here. Miller's got a good grip there on that right side. It would be great if he could just kind of start throwing those hammer fists if that's what his coach is calling for. It looks like it. But those knees to the body are vicious, right? I mean, every time he goes to do that, I want to tell you that's Crawford's opportunity to start to roll. But the problem is the hand positioning of Miller, which prevents him from striking, is preventing Crawford from escaping. So it's really just, it's a tough position for Crawford to be in.
Those knees are just weighing in on Crawford's left side of his body.
And you're going to see right here, he's going to push real heavy off the cage. And it's just, again, it's not enough to just do once. You got to do more than one to get out of there.
Crawford jumps over to his belly. Let's see if Miller can jump in here and do something with it.
But I'll tell you, as I look at this camera work, the production quality here at CageZilla is just fantastic. You got the team up there.
Hey, look, everybody does a great job. Yeah, everybody does a great job here.
Fantastic, really fantastic. And how lucky are we to be able to watch a fight like this in high def?
$30 left here in round number 3.
And it looks like Matt's going to actually make it out of there, but you know, I think this fight probably is going to send him back to the drawing board because there are going to be guys like Cary Miller who are capable of putting you in a bad spot and keeping you there. And you know, you work on our wrestling, you work on your jiu-jitsu, and you become more well equipped to deal with questions like Cary Miller right now. But for Miller, man, oh man, a win like this over Matt Crawford is just very, very impressive.
Well, there's this horn for the final round here of this title fight and co-main event. Both guys totally exhausted, don't even want to stand up. Great job from both fellas.
Yeah, and you know, that chain wrestling from Cary Miller was just fantastic. I mean, really, it was something else.
Crawford really exhausted. But the side of that midsection.
Yeah, look, it was relentless pressure, relentless takedowns, and that's what happens here when you're dealing with a guy who's wrestled at such a high level.
Judges are probably not going to have a too tough one with this one as they make their way around. Chris Fuller grabs the cards. And I don't think Chris has got anything that's going to shock us here. So once Chris makes his way over, looks like Victor has both fighters. Let's throw it down to Chris Fuller for the results. Taking home this belt. Chris, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. Judge 1 scores about 30 to 24. Judge 2 scores about 30 to 23. And Judge 3 scores about 30 to 25. All in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. And new CageZilla Heavyweight Out of the red corner, it's Cary Miller.
All right, Cary Miller going to take that belt all the way back onto the Carolinas with him. That a great fight here tonight as he just total control over Matt Smiley Crawford.